domestic terrorists, agitators, and insurrectionists. This is Law and Society. Please subscribe. I'm going to talk to you about these terms, and this is a warning for what may come in the coming months and years. Donald Trump and MAGA's propaganda messaging corrupts the truth and preempts it with false narratives. It happened in both of the deadly shootings in Minneapolis. That messaging continues. Those out on the streets protesting the federal government's invasion of major American cities and states are now exclusively being called domestic terrorists, agitators, and insurrectionists. In the most subversive way, Trump's regime is undermining our constitutional right to peaceful protest, filling the airwaves with the domestic terrorists, agitators, and insurrectionist propaganda frames peaceful protesters as potential threats to public safety and national security. If your words and actions are a threat to public safety or national security, they no longer enjoy constitutional protection under the First Amendment. Harmful speech that incites, intends to falsely incite, and expects imminent incitement of violence does not get constitutional protection. Incidentally, fraud also does not get constitutional protection. So while Trump is creating the domestic terrorist, agitator, and insurrectionist false narrative to build a legal pretext to invoke the Insurrection Act under false pretenses, there's a strong case that shows that Trump is defrauding the American people with false narratives. He's spreading the false narratives. He knows the narrative is false, and that's precisely why he's spreading it, with the intention of making it his reason to deploy our military to our streets and to deprive us of our right to peaceful protest. And if he does this during the midterm elections, he's getting in the way of our right to vote. Building this false narrative is not part of his official duties. That's something that we should keep in mind should he ever become a private citizen again. The fact remains that protests across America have been overwhelmingly peaceful. Agitators are exceptions, not the vast majority of peaceful protesters. More often than not, federal agents attack peaceful protesters with less lethals like tear gas, pepper spray, pepper balls, rubber bullets, batons, and excessive brute force. Federal agents were provoked by agitators yelling too loudly Federal agents were provoked by protesters yelling too loudly despite Donald Trump's henchmen saying that yelling at federal agents is not assault that rises to the level of federal agents escalating tensions with protesters. In the cases of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, both victims were de-escalating their confrontations right before they were brutally murdered by federal agents in broad daylight. Federal agents enforcing immigration law have used lethal force against many they have considered threats. Those who survived have said that they want to talk about it because they want the country to know and see what Trump's federal agents are doing to people all across the country. Despite Tom Homan announcing an end to Operation Metro Surge in Minneapolis, federal agents continue their aggressive practices against peaceful protesters all across the country virtually every day. All the while, MAGA politicians and Trump loyalists parrot Trump's domestic terrorists, agitators, and insurrectionists' false narrative. So when you go out to protest, notice I will never tell you to not protest. Remember to remain peaceful. As I've said many times, the United States Constitution gives people in America the right to peacefully assemble and protest. Peacefully is key. If even one protester agitates federal agents, it gives the agents a reason to escalate the situation and categorize it as an instance of an agitator or insurrectionist or domestic terrorist posing a public safety, national security threat. And that's what Trump and his posse tried to do with Alex Preddy and Renee Good. Their attempts to justify what happened to Good and Pretty failed miserably because everybody saw it from multiple perspectives, because people didn't turn away scared. Strangers stood witness and now have evidence that proves the truth in such a strong way that the regime cannot win the messaging campaign. So they are shutting down investigations into the two murders and denying Minnesota's request to get evidence from the cases as they do their state investigations into the murders. That's why it's more important than ever that you record everything if you see federal agents behaving in a way that provokes or escalates conflict with protesters. Do not confront the federal agents at all. You're not there to harass them. You are there to gather with others and exercise your free speech and peaceful protest rights. You can do that better if you don't confront and give federal agents a reason to use excessive force on you and others around you. While you have to use good judgment and restraint while protesting, remember that protesting loudly and near federal agents is not incitement or provocation. Walking, praying, or picketing around detention centers is not incitement or provocation. Refusing to leave public spaces absent any local law enforcement declaration of curfew or disbursement is not incitement or provocation. Recording federal agents is not incitement or provocation. Unprovoked attacks on protesters by federal agents are assaults. They are criminal, not enforcement of immigration law, and not covered by qualified immunity when there's independent video evidence exposing the regime's false narratives and use of excessive force. Wield these powers that you have. Use them patiently and wisely. Don't be impulsive. Be patient. Be peaceful. Be joyful. Be creative. Sing. Be loud. Dance. Use your whistles. And record everything. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you soon.